Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be a story that I have to tell you guys of something that took place in June of 2025. So probably 7 months ago. A lot of you guys have been waiting. I've been kind of teasing this little story that I was going to tell. A lot of you guys have been kind of asking me about it. Some of y'all know what it is. So it is going to be a very interesting story. So stay tuned, and we're about to get right into it. All right, everybody, welcome back. So today's episode is going to be more like I'm just going to sit down and tell you guys this story, kind of explain to you why the channel has been kind of quiet, things that have been going on with me, and kind of the future of where we're headed. So before I get into anything, yes, as you can tell by the title of this video, I was bitten by a rattlesnake while I was in Pennsylvania at my family's cabin, during my annual snake camp that I host every year with a bunch of herpers during the Pennsylvania rattlesnake hunting season. Basically what that means is from about the first weekend of June until I think the second or third weekend of July. The dates change every year. Pennsylvania opens up its rattlesnake season. If you possess a resident fishing license, meaning you're a resident of Pennsylvania, you have a fishing license, you can opt in to buy a venomous tag. That venomous tag is good for a timber rattlesnake or a copperhead to collect, capture, kill, or possess. Before I get into anything, nobody in my crew or any crew that I know does any killing of the rattlesnakes. We simply go out, we collect them. There are some events throughout the state called snake hunts. You basically take your animal there, they'll measure it, they'll weigh it, they'll look at the rattles. You can win prizes for, biggest rattle, or heaviest snake, or prettiest black phase, prettiest yellow phase, things like that. And then after the weekend is over, the snake is returned to you, and almost everybody that I know returns them back to the spot they were found, and they are released. That tag is also good for if you wanted to keep that snake as a pet. That tag would then make the snake legal for you to keep as a pet. Or, there are some people that eat them or make things, belts, whatever, out of them. I don't agree with that. I don't like that. However, that's not what this video is about. That is their right to do whatever they want with their, legally purchased snake or legally purchased tag / snake. So anyways, that's just kind of the premise of where this was when it was happened. So I'm going to get into a couple disclaimers before I get into the story. This video is strictly for educational purposes only. This video is not to glorify the fact that I was bit by a snake and to make a video about it and to make it this thing where, I'm trying to get my name out there and become popular for surviving a snake bite. That is not at all what this video is about. This video is strictly for education. I've been working with venomous snakes since I was 14 years old is when I caught my first rattlesnake. I'm 37 now, so that's a long time. This is the first bite I've ever had. It's basically to shed light on, yes, you can get bit even if you're being safe and using tools. So to answer everybody's question, no, there was no free handling involved. Yes, there was a tool being used. It was a freak accident that happened at a legal den site on state property during a legal snake hunting season while I was in possession of a legal Pennsylvania resident venomous snake permit. This is the exact hook I was using when I got bit. This hook was made by a friend of mine. So anyways, yeah, with that disclaimer out of the way, I'm not trying to make this like, oh my God, I'm so cool, I got bit by a snake. No, that is not it at all. It hurt, it sucked. I don't wish it on my worst enemy. I have even more respect for these animals now. Not that I didn't have respect for them before, but you kind of, it's almost like when surfers are out surfing in the ocean and get bit by a shark. It's, you know, a lot of the times they have an even deeper level of love for these animals, which I do. I have a deeper love for these animals. So anyways, with all those disclaimers out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and get into the actual story, the timeline of what happened, how it happened, and the recovery process, everything that happened to me, all the way up until the end, like, you know, as a couple months ago. So it is the weekend of June 26, 2025. I believe that was a Thursday. It's when I got to my cabin. We had a bunch of friends come in. We spent the entire weekend going to different snake events. We went to the Cross Fork Snake Hunt. That's actually where, the Cross Fork Snake Hunt is where I bought this hook from Russ Glixner, who makes these things. He's an amazing hook. So it was the first time I was actually getting to use this hook on an animal, unfortunately. But so yeah, we spent the whole weekend out there, caught a lot of snakes, had a lot of really good fun, and there were no issues. And then I do believe it was Sunday. Yeah, I think it was Sunday. Yeah, 29th. Actually, you know, I don't have my phone on me. So it was the 29th of June. About most of the people had left the cabin to go back home. You know, we've been there for a few days. However, my girlfriend Alexis, my friend Keith, my friends Kate and Mike, and then my friend Blake were all that was left. And we decided that we were going to go out and check a couple more spots, and that at the very last spot we were all gonna, you know, hug and say our goodbyes, and then we were all gonna each drive our own separate ways when we were done. So in the morning we started packing things up. We got out and we drove out to a local den site that is known. No, I will not be putting out any locations. However, this is in north central Pennsylvania. Yeah, so anyways, we're at this den site and we're walking around, and all of a sudden, you know, I come up upon a curled up black-faced timber rattlesnake kind of sitting out in the sun underneath a tree away from the rock crevices. And, you know, I called over Keith and we're getting some pictures of this animal. And then we were going to, at that point, this animal was really dark, is really beautiful. And like just the way it was sitting is probably like the most beautiful timber rattlesnake I've ever seen in my life. I know that might be a little cliche to say because it's the one that bit me. However, you know, then we got our bucket, you know, the snake buckets, the screw lids. And what we were going to do is we were going to use the hook to, you know, pick up the animal and, you know, get a closer look at it, see if it was male or female, because in Pennsylvania, the only legal way to use your tag, however you want to use your tag, is has to be a male snake, has to be over 46 inches in length, or 42 inches, 42 or 46. I don't have the book on me on hand, but has to be a big male snake. You can't keep females because a lot of them are pregnant, so for obvious reasons. So anyways, I grabbed my hook. She was coiled up. I do believe that it was a female. After I got bit, and, you know, looking back, the snake looked at, it was probably a female. Not sure because we never got hands on the snake. So I don't know. We didn't count the tail. I have no idea what it was, but I'm going to use she for the purpose of this video. So I took my hook and, you know, I scooped her up to kind of pull her out from her coil, and then she started to kind of take off as where I used my hook to get up under her, and then I went to pull my hand to get on her tail, and when I had her hooked and tailed, she flailed and kind of fell off the hook again and started slithering away. And so at that point, it was she's heading toward a rock, and I put my hook down to kind of pull her up again. I went to grab her tail to stop her from getting away, at which point there was a small bush there. I had not seen that she had turned her head completely around, and as I was with my hook out there, as I was reaching my hand down to grab her tail, her head was positioned, and it happened so fast. She smacked me right here on the top of this snake head tattoo and on the knuckle. And then as I pulled my hand back, she fell off. And before we go any farther, yes, we were actually recording for the YouTube channel here. So I actually have the bite on video. I will not be showing it for this video. I am not trying to sensationalize this because it was not a positive thing that happened. I'm not trying to put that out there for clout. However, I do have it just in case anybody thinks that I'm BSing for some reason and that I was free handling or doing anything reckless, and I was not. I have the proof. Anyways, had the snake by the tail, or I went to grab her by the tail, and she turned and smacked me. It felt like, initially it felt like somebody took a stick and just smacked the back of my hand real quick. I pulled my hand back, I looked down, and I instantly saw blood coming out of my fingers and 2 fangs, and I knew instantly. I just said, I'm bit, we gotta go. Instantly. We let the snake go. Nobody was worried about the snake. My friend Keith was like, okay, you're bit? Okay. And then, all right, he's like, you know what? We start walking out. He's like, give me your truck keys. I'm gonna drive. Where's the hospital? I'm telling him where the hospital is. I'm telling him the name of the hospital, but we didn't have it on GPS. We didn't have it pulled up on the phone, and where we were at we had no service. So this is going to be a point that I come back to as to how I'm doing things differently in ways that you can prepare so that you don't end up in the same situation. So anyways, and then Mike was like, all right, I'm gonna follow you. And we're all start walking back. We get to my truck. As soon as the truck is maybe, probably it's way less than a quarter of a mile. We were probably 200 yards from our truck. By the time I got back to the truck, my hand was throbbing. It felt like somebody had stuck liquid hot magma into my hand and then parked a dump truck on top of my hand and was crushing it. So it was an immense amount of pressure and pain. At this point, it wasn't even that bad yet because my adrenaline was still pumping. However, I got into the passenger seat of my vehicle, at which point I started noticing my mouth was starting to tingle, my face was starting to tingle, my arms and legs were very tingly, almost like falling asleep, but not quite all the way. I started getting pretty nervous at that point, but then I just remembered, hey, calm down, calm down. Keith got in my driver's seat. I was in the front seat of my truck. My girlfriend got behind me and she started massaging my chest to try to keep me calm, which I'm so thankful for that, because that, on the whole ride to the hospital, I just remember her rubbing my chest and keeping me calm, which was great. So we start backing out and we're driving all over the top of this mountain. I'm trying to get cell phone service. Blake and Alexis are both trying to get this hospital on GPS, and we're like holding our phones up to get signal because I know how to get there if we backtrack down the mountain, but that's going to be an 1.5 to 2 hour ride. Anyways, we ended up getting to a spot at the very top of the mountain where there was a little bit of service. We got the hospital plugged in. It's about a 40-minute drive, and Blake puts the hospital on the GPS. We put it up there. So Keith starts driving. At that point, I call the hospital. I say, hey, we're on our way to you now. I was bitten by a timber rattlesnake. I have a full envenomation. I'm feeling the effects of the venom. I'm going to need crowfab. And I basically said, gave out like the whole bite protocol. I said, we're on our way. We'll be there in 39 minutes or whatever. This is my name. This is my date of birth. I gave them all this information before I even got to the hospital. So that's a key thing to remember. Like, that is something that I did good. So we arrive at the the Elk something hospital in St. Mary's, Pennsylvania. And we get to the emergency room. They're already waiting for me. They get me back almost immediately. I get put into a chair, and within 5 minutes, the nurse has 6 vials of Crofab that they spin up, and I receive antivenom almost immediately. At which point they start measuring my vitals. They take a bunch of blood from my other arm. And we're in the hospital at this point. You know, I've got my first 6 vials. It hurts really bad. I'm still in pretty good spirits. And then they get my blood work back, and my platelets have plummeted down to a 17 count, which is extremely dangerous. Platelets being that low is very, very bad. At which point they are hitting me with all kinds of pain meds, and my heart rate's kind of all over the place. And so they hit me with an epinephrine pen. Pure adrenaline, or not, through IV they give me epinephrine, adrenaline, which, God, that sucks. That is, that like made me throw up. Like, that was terrible. Worst pain ever. And with my platelets being so low, they realized that at that small hospital they did not have the resources to properly treat me. At which point they called in a Medevac helicopter, and I was life flighted to the UPMC Presbyterian Hospital in Pittsburgh, where it's a level 1 trauma unit. And before I continue with the story, I want to say a few things. First of all, to some of the staff at the hospital, the first hospital, we kept in contact with them a couple weeks later. Some of them might be watching this video. I know the 2 helicopter nurses that I was flown out with are watching this video because they told me they would. So first of all, to the staff at the hospital, thank you. Y'all were amazing. Words cannot justify how grateful I am for you. Also, for the 2 helicopter nurses, and the helicopter pilot, also a big thank you. My helicopter team was out of this world amazing, so good. They were talking to me through the headset, keeping me calm the entire time. That made me feel like I was in really good hands and that I was going to be okay, because I'm not going to lie. Although I know that, like, I was pretty good. You know, I didn't have an allergic reaction or anything immediately, so I knew that my chances of, being okay were fairly high. But this was still a very medically significant emergency, and so I'm not gonna lie. All sorts of thoughts went through my head, but I had to remain positive, and they kept me positive. After about a 40-minute flight, I landed in Pittsburgh at around 6 o'clock that evening, 6:30 to 7 o'clock that evening, at which point I was given another 10 vials of Crofab because I was still having effects to the venom. My whole arm was swollen up at this point. My hand was gigantic. This finger was turning purple. And my platelets had dropped all the way to 4, was the lowest they got. So I was in the ICU overnight. In the morning time, I got another round of antivenom, so that puts us at 26 vials. And then I was brought upstairs, and I met my nurse, Jen. She's awesome. Jen and her whole nursing team are amazing as well. I want to say thank you so much to all of you guys. At which point I proceeded to stay in the hospital for 4 days. I received a total of 29 vials of Crofab. The 6 were Crofab, and the others were the other brand of them. I'm having a mental, I don't remember. Anyways, 29 vials of antivenom altogether. Yeah, it was crazy. And it hurt and it sucked. Got out of the hospital, and even 6 weeks after the bite, my hand still was not fully healed. I was in a excruciating pain. And so fast forward a few months, this is my hand now. So you can see this finger is where I was bit. I can bend it. It bends in, right? But it does not straighten out. It is, let me see if I can get this up here to show you. This is how it looks right now. It's a little more swollen than my other one. And I've been to some hand specialists, and that is pretty much what I'm being told is it's permanent. The fang penetrated right through the middle of the knuckle, straight through the joint, pierced the tendon, and basically fried the tendon that allows it to extend. The tendon that allows it to curl is still good. Obviously, it's why I can curl it a little bit. So I can make a fist, I can hold things, great. But it hurts. Even right now today, this is still painful, and this is in December, and I was bit in June. So yeah, I got the bill back from the hospital and for the helicopter ride and for the total thing. The whole thing is right around $450,000 US. Thankfully, I have pretty good insurance, and because of the fact that I was in the state during a legal, state sanctioned event, basically, it's a mishap, and my insurance covered everything. So I am out of pocket $0 for this. Incredibly lucky for that. So to some of the people that have heard the rumors that I got bit, yes, I did in fact get bit by a timber rattlesnake here in Pennsylvania. No, I did not get bit by any of my exotic snakes. No, I was not bitten in my home. Yes, I was bitten out in the state forest on state property at a den site during legal hunting season. And yes, I was using tools. Yes, I had boots on. Yes, we had a bucket. No, I did not have tongs. So that's gonna lead me now into some of the lessons learned from this. First lesson learned is, even if you're using a snake hook and you're using a proper technique, and sometimes snakes just do what they want to do, and sometimes accidents happened, and I was on taking full responsibility. I was probably moving too fast with the animal, trying to make sure it didn't get away, and I kind of got just a little in the moment, and I let my guard down for a split second because I didn't see her head, but I saw her tail. A split second, just like that, and I got bit. So that lesson, first of all, is always make sure you know where that snake's head is. Always make sure you're being careful. Always make sure you are being slow. Take your time. If a snake gets away, it's not the end of the world. The second lesson from this is I did not have the nearby hospital saved into my phone on GPS. I did not have the hospital's phone number saved into my notes or anything like that. And I didn't need it because I didn't go into anaphylactic shock or anything, but we also didn't have any EpiPens with us. So those are some pretty big safety concerns that are changing for me now. I have 4 hospitals within the hour of the areas I go, all saved into my phone. I've got the numbers listed down, and the routes planned out in case that were to ever happen again. While I was in the hospital, actually I'll show them to you right now, one sec. While I was in the hospital, I ordered these Midwest tongs. I was never really a fan of these beforehand because I just thought that I got my hooks, I can use my hooks, my tools, like I know what I'm doing. Well, things happen, and so I have these. So these will be utilized. These are safe as long as you know what you're doing with them. You know how to properly utilize them. They're perfectly safe. In situations where it's not a calm snake, it's an agitated snake or something like that, these will be used for further snake seasons, because no, I am not giving up snakes. No, I am not going to stop doing what I love. So that's the second lesson, is tools. We have new tools. My little herping bag kit has a more extensive first aid kit now. I have the hospital routes, the hospital names, the hospital phone numbers, even the toxicology department at the Pittsburgh Hospital. I have their phone number all saved, just in case, because you never know. Always have a plan. I think that is kind of what I'm getting at here, is always have a plan and plan for the worst. Oh yeah, I've been doing this for so long. I didn't think, so. I spoke with my doctor. I have an EpiPen that I'm going to be putting into the kit. And yeah, so that's kind of where we're at with that. The second lesson, first lesson is move slow. Second lesson is make sure you have better tools. And kind of know where you're going to go beforehand. Or if you're going to a new area to go snake hunting and there's venomous snakes in the area, do a little bit of research first and find out where the closest hospitals are. Maybe even contact them and say, hey, do you guys, keep anti-venom in stock? Do you know where the closest hospital is that does? Because while speaking with the hospital staff, they appreciated the fact that I called. I said exactly what had happened, and I kind of knew like the procedure and like what was supposed to happen. And thankfully, my nurse at that first hospital we went to, she was a travel nurse from Texas, and so she would, she's like, oh yeah, I've dealt with over 50 snake bites from Western Diamondback. Being in Texas, they got snake bites all the time. This hospital was like the third snake bite they ever got. Like in recent years anyways. So she knew what to do, and she hooked us up, and we were taken care of there. So anyways, that's kind of why I've been slow to posting. I was recovering for pretty much all of July. I lost over 20 pounds. I was bedridden for like 2 weeks. It was not fun. Thankfully, no necrotic damage. I still have my finger. It's a little bent and kind of stuck in one position, but I can still use it. I can make fists. My daily life has not been severely impacted in any sort of a way. And so I just kind of wanted to make this video and kind of tell you guys what happened. And make it a very real video. These are creatures that can end your life in the blink of an eye if you're not careful. Luckily, I was bitten by a snake that in the area there was plenty of antivenom for it. So if you don't have your own antivenom and you're working with some crazy stuff, you're asking for trouble. So this is just hopefully a good reality check for some people. I know plenty of people that have been bit, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. This is my first time ever getting bitten, and I hope it's my last. I'm realistic. I work with venomous snakes. I'm not going to say it will never happen again, but I am going to try everything in my power to not make that happen. And so just even here at the house, I used to tail snakes a lot. Just to get them out, tail them, get pictures of them and stuff like that. And not that I'm afraid to do this, but I don't really do that very often anymore. When I take snakes out, I will tail the ones that are generally pretty calm. But if a snake is showing me that it's agitated and running and it does not want to come out of the enclosure, I will either use 2 hooks to get it out of the enclosure and put it straight into the safety receptacle, or I will just close the enclosure and come back a little bit later or the next day, unless it's completely out of water or it's something emergency. Let's do it later. I generally have more respect for them and a greater love for them now than I did before. Funny enough, yeah, I can't wait to get back out there and do it. I did get back out to do some hiking in August. Came across quite a few more timber rattlesnakes in August. However, it was not part of the rattlesnake season, so there was no snake hunting or anything like that. It was more like I was just getting back out into nature, enjoying nature, taking pictures, stuff like that. So yeah, I am not trying to say to glorify this. I'm not trying to become popular for this. This is for education, to let you know that it can happen. And especially, I wasn't even going to make this video. One reason I made this video is recently I've been seeing reels of people kissing rattlesnakes and doing all sorts of stuff. And in the comment sections of some of those reels and videos, I'm seeing a lot of young people. I actually just saw this young woman. She was commenting on this post. She said, "Oh my gosh, this makes me love diamondbacks so much. I can't wait to get one now because of this." And it was a video of a guy kissing his rattlesnake. And that was disturbing to me because it's like these people think, a lot of people are like looking at these people who do these stunts online and sensationalize it. I mean, even me, you know, I show off these beautiful animals and how rewarding of an experience it is to have this room, and it is. But these aren't ball pythons, man. Like they're not corn snakes. These can mess you up or kill you. And so I'm not saying any of this to try to gatekeep anybody from getting venomous. I think venomous is a great hobby if you do your research, you take your time, and you make sure you get trained and you know what you're doing. I don't think this is something that you should just, you see some reels of people online with cobras and rattlesnakes and you're going to go out to your local reptile expo and buy a rattlesnake and just start trying to hold it and pet it. Like, it's not going to go well for you. You might get lucky for a while, but it's going to go bad for you real quick. So, and even when you're out in the woods hiking, man, like, I generally used to wear my Solomon boots out snake hunting. You know, they kind of come up about 6 inches over the ankle. But I ordered, knee-high snake boots because some of the areas we go have really high ferns, and the amount of pain that this caused and discomfort and the amount of damage this did, I'm honestly not willing to get bit in the leg. And you know what? I don't even care. If some of you want to make fun of me for wearing knee-high snake boots in the middle of July when it's 90 degrees out, I don't care. You want to make fun of me for using double hooks? I don't care. I respect these animals. I love them. I'm going to work with them in the safest way possible so I can continue to enjoy what I'm doing, bringing education to people, showcasing these awesome animals. Yeah, so that's, I think, where we're at with the video. I think I covered everything. Let me see. Yeah, I think I covered everything. So if you guys like this video, please do me a favor, subscribe, hit the like button down below, hit the bell notification so you get notified when I make another video, and consider sending this to some of your friends who do reckless things and maybe could use a little bit of a reality check. I'm not perfect. I'm not God. I'm not the best. I'm very far from it. I am just a human being. I make mistakes. I am trying to learn every single day that I'm alive and keep growing as a keeper, as a conservationist, as an animal lover. I think we can all do better. I think everybody can do better. I can do better. I can do better with husbandry. I can do better I can do better. So can you. You can do better. You could think that you're doing things the absolute best way. You can do better. That's everybody watching this video. You can do better as a snake keeper, as a reptile lover, as an outdoorsman, outdoors woman, as a conservationist. You can do better. So I think it's our goal as responsible adults to always strive to do better. And so that's what I'm doing, and that's what I hope this video shares for some of you guys. Yeah, and so until then, I guess now we're going to transition to the end of the video. As far as the channel goes, I'm back to making videos. I'm going to continue to make videos. I just really wanted to get this out of the way. I kind of didn't feel right continue doing what I was doing on YouTube without making this video or speaking about it in some sort of a way. So yeah, it's cleaning day, so I'm gonna get some of these rattlesnakes and crebos and vipers and a couple of the boas and some of the other colubrids out into some safe containers, and we're gonna clean their enclosures, fill up their water bowls, and then put everybody back and move on with our day. That's not gonna be in this video though. So yeah, I hope everybody learned something. Please just, if you take anything away from this, take your time, do better, have a plan, rethink the way you do things, and see if there's a way that you could possibly do things better. And if there is, which I'm sure there is, then do it, you know. So anyways, thanks everybody for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.